Hello, Mahesh Narayanan. Welcome to Film Companion South. I
Very
just
good.
want to start by saying this is like a giant leap for you, and I really mean it because as much your earlier films were really good. The reason I say this is because it's not easy to make any movie. When you follow one protagonist or one antagonist, it's a little more contained, and it's
Mm-hmm.
also easier to focus the audience attention on that particular person. So all your writing becomes focused on whether that one particular person, and this is like this big sprawling thing, and that's why I call it a giant leap. Not to knock your earlier films, but it's a superb thing you've done, and all congratulations.
Thank you, very. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad
So
that you like
I
the film.
yeah, I mean, obviously more than like the film. I want to begin by asking you, Mahesh. See, this is a fairly well-trodden territory in terms of narrative arc. I'm only talking about the overall narrative arc, right? Not the specifics. I mean, the originator is probably Coppola with The Godfather, and maybe there's something before, but that is the one institutionalized this kind of narrative kind of a thing. And then we have Nayagan, and we have other kinds of films which kind of follow the same is, which means that we have like a man coming from a provincial background and becoming a protector to his people, and therefore forming his own kind of laws and that kind of a thing. Now, at any point during this movie,
Mm,
when you were doing the research about the events that formed
mm,
the background
mm,
of this movie,
mm.
at any point did you feel, oh my god, this is beginning to resemble The Godfather or The Nayakan or something like that? Did you ever feel that happening?
Definitely, because I had a conversation with Kamal sir. So at that stage, I told sir that sir, I'm going to try my own way of adapting Godfather and Nayagan. So he asked me like, who is playing it? So I said, Fire. The correct choice. Do it. You do it. This is the right time for you to do that. So in that sense, that's correct, buddy. Because that's a film which every time when you watch, there are different interpretations coming up.
Right, right,
At various stages of my life. So it has been a great hook throughout my career. So it is always there.
right.
So I always feel that every time when you try to portray like, since it's this is not made as a biopic anyway, but still when a person's age transformation, like one from childhood to his mid age and all, or old age and all, then there will be resemblance, and there will be
Right.
moments of such kind of films which we constantly keep on the loop, and we watch regularly. So definitely it is there,
Yeah, yeah. So you weren't
except
trying to
that.
say like, I want to do this so that it'll avoid looking like that. That was not on your mind at
No,
all.
no, 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 no.
Yeah.
I wanted this idea to be communicated to a larger crowd.
Okay.
So in that manner, because there are certain other layers, like which was not discussed in all these films. So which I have something which is very much personal and close to my life. So I have to discuss those things. So I took a pattern like that. I could took a
Right.
template, so
Right.
that I can make it more easily I could communicate it through to my audience very easily.
Now, just a theoretical question, a hypothetical question. Now, both, like, let's say Godfather, right? He's portrayed, even though he's done a lot of bad things, he's portrayed for the audience. He comes across as a very sympathetic man.
Mm, mm.
Same
Correct.
thing with Nayakan
Yeah,
also.
yeah, correct.
Kamal's done horrible things, or rather, he's ordered people to do horrible things. But when we see him as an audience, we always see him as a sympathetic man. Is it possible to do this kind of a narrative? Again, it's a hypothetical question, showing those horrible things and yet getting the audience to identify with this person.
I will tell you another example of MT was given us as film called Hariharan as film called Vadakan Viragada.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
this
Mammootty. Yeah,
film,
yeah.
I was more inclined to that kind of narrative, like when telling about a person's story, who is whether he's right or wrong. When you say Nayak, and there's a famous line, Nalavara Ninga Nalavara Ketavara. So that keeps on, like, so the same line is there in Vadakan Viragada also, whether he's good or bad. So I personally conceive in this way that Sulaiman in this particular movie, he knows that he's not the right person. He's not the right person, and he knows that he's not a nalavar and not a ketavar, like not a good and not a bad. So he's more like that gray kind of a person. And there is a line in this film, since I can say, right. So since there is a line where where he conveys that I am also an immigrant. I'm also
Right.
an immigrant who reached in this town, and there is nobody like everybody received me well. And so I am not against any kind of thing which is against my community or against this territory. It's actually a territorial thing. In that terms, I was trying always to explore these gray shades of that character.
Right.
Like, when Rosalind asks Suleiman, like Suleiman asks Rosalind that, I won't make you convert and all, but I want my children to live in the way like my community wants, because that's a request to you. If you are agreeing only, I will do that. So that is the kind of reality what he goes through daily. So on a layman's perspective, I always feel that people have seen a lot of people like that, like lot of human characters like that, who's got their own ambitions, their own resistance. So that has always been addressed. So I never felt people should not connect with that particular person just because he's doing all these evil things or the bad things and all. But it is all because of the circumstances what he's going through and what he's facing and the challenges he's going through. And finally he's not achieving also, like like the same way, like there is no, like I see, in the end, who is winning? Actually the system is winning. Nobody's winning there. Like we are actually, like he's actually giving the baton to a different person, different, like not like his the next person is there, evidently there in the film. So that's a kind of loop which I wanted to create in the beginning.
Right. So we are speaking about The Godfather, and there are several explicit homages in your film. One of them is the rooftop scene from Godfather Part 2. That's brilliantly done. And then there's another one which slips my mind. But the most important of all is the beginning, opening, that big wedding scene kind of thing. Now, when the first time I saw the film, I watched it like a when you keep hearing names, you say Amir, you say Ali, you say they just like, it's like you're entering a wedding of a family that you don't know too well, and the audience is being taken through all this kind of people. But
it's actually a feast, which is, it's not a wedding.
Feast.
Actually,
Sorry, feast. I mean, I'm thinking of The Godfather and saying wedding, but this is the feast before Hajj. He's going to Hajj. That's the thing. Sorry, I was thinking of The Godfather. So when you're making a movie for a big screen, which of course this was originally, do you ever think about, should I slow down a bit and maybe introduce the characters a bit, or should I just sweep them along in this momentum? Because both are valid choices, right? Because, for example, Amir is a very important name that comes up, and that's one of the reasons he wants to go to Hajj. But Amir, even we don't know who exactly Amir is till much later. So much later. So tell me about those choices when you're writing a big opening scene like that. In The Godfather, for example, at every stage, even though it's a huge scene, by the end of that scene, you're very clear about who everyone is, because we are seeing the scene through Michael's eyes and through our own kind of eyes, right? So he's explaining it to his girlfriend that this is so and so, this is so and so, or so that. But that tell me about the decision to just do this whirlwind tour of this this place.
In the first draft, like in the initial drafts and all, that scene was not there. So this particular scene was not there. The film opens with the airport. So what happened, when I was narrating the story to everybody, to my crew members, even Fahad was there, like there was something which is missing for all of them. I'm not understanding the character. They were constantly telling that, okay, we are not revealing too much. You are just placing this person. And then in my first draft, I always wanted Suleiman to be known through his flashbacks. From Jamila's perspective, from David's perspective, and from his own version.
That was right from the beginning.
From the beginning, it was there. This three perspective narration was always there. I still believe that would have been a much more superior way. But the way that's what the point of communication to the audience was lacking. So when I'm making a film to a larger crowd, I need a specific tool in the beginning, so that from one scene alone, I have to establish his entire world. Right. And I have to show that, where he's coming from, how religious he is, how, why is he going to Hajj? What is his problem with his mother? Who is his sister? What is his relationship with his wife? And what is this, his kid, his girl child thinking about him? And what is this politician, this Abu Bakar's character, which Dinesh played, what is his angle on that? When that scene was written and then narrated again, then I could see smiling faces. Like, people understood. Okay, now we got it. Now we got a point. So then that's the way I could crack the scene. So why this whole scene as a single shot? It's because after this sequence, if you look at it, like in the film, after the sequence, Suleiman is seen in a jail. Like, it's the actual story happens between 14 days. So 14 days is the judicial in judicial system in
Remand.
India. Remand period is 14 days, the minimum remand period. So actually, I wanted to condense this entire timeline towards this 14-day period. So what is happening to him when he's moving out of his community and then getting caught by the system, and then he's trapped in a cell. So he's trapped in that four walls. So then I need to show him that the free flow movement of him, like, the big house, people traveling from everywhere, and he can move around. So
Yeah.
so in like he even though he's not moving around, the camera is moving actually. So in that manner, I could make an illusion towards the audience, saying that, okay, this person has been living freely.
Right.
It's a ghetto kind of a thing. Like, if you look at it, he lives in a house. The house is quite big, but like, there are narrow streets. We could see shops and there. So he lives in that place so that, it is safe for him. So the moment some cops or some kind of people are like, starting from outside of this territory, he would get a message, and so that he can actually, or else people won't let them in. So that's the kind of place. So even in Nayagan, it's the same thing. They all live in a ghetto. Even you look at any
Godfather,
of these
they live in
people,
that compound. Yeah.
compound. Yeah. So even Godfather compound is some more like a big compound where we have big walls, huge walls and all, but there are, like, it's not so condensed like this. This is like a narrowed, like,
Yeah, like a
ghetto,
big
proper
bungalow.
ghetto.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted that kind of free flowness, and this so that, we establish this character like that, in that manner, that so he's living freely, and his people, there is a moment in that particular scene when we see a girl coming, a lady with a kid. So she's coming from the other area, so from Edathura. So what happened, in reality, I'm not mentioning any places or all here, but so if you look at it, like, after in anywhere, like, you take it, any place in the country where, where a riot has happened. So then there is a dispute between two communities. It naturally happens, and they don't analyze why did this happen and all. They don't analyze it properly, because religion is definitely a factor. And then there are people to motivate this, trigger it again and again, constantly hit on them, saying that this is not right. So you'll have to flee this place, or else you'll have to move. Or that's how this exodus and all happens. There is this lady sitting with her kid, coming for the freeze, and then simply she's saying that, okay, I'm from this place. So his wife is telling that, no, don't worry, you tell him, no problem. Like, he'll take care of it. So then we are not addressing that problem anywhere in the film. We are not addressing that problem. It has to be, like, we don't know, probably Rosalind would have taken care of that,
Right.
in the next, but that I'm not showing. So in that manner, I have to show the people also, like, how people are looking at this particular person. So that's why this long scene. A lot of people would ask me, like, when this initial draft was written, like, I had an apprehension that whether this scene will be a gimmick, simply because I'm treating this as a single shot, because like, we can't achieve this as a single shot. It's stitched anyway, but it will appear as a single shot, just like how you see in Birdman and all other films, 1917 and all. So I have a definite answer for that. It is only because of this kind of freedom, how he's achieved in this house. He's losing that kind of freedom. Like, he's constrained in a room afterwards the entire film. Like, that's what. Yeah.
No, that's actually a brilliant answer. Because when you usually ask technical questions, like, people always say, no, that just happened. So thank you for saying that. But I'm also talking about the fact that, for example, you're talking about this lady who comes from the other village, right? Which are now enemies with this village. So it's like, because that's David's village, and that is, that is like, she's coming there. But at that particular point, it's very, because you move fast. Do you ever think about, am I moving too fast? Am I mentioning names too fast? Am I should I maybe slow down a little bit? Should I kind of let the audience absorb this one bit a little bit?
If I'm supposed to write Malik again, then I would have compressed it much more. Like, it's a kind of, like, it's a kind of style which we want always at that particular moment, like at that particular time. Now I think, if you take a film like Milestone, which I saw it on Netflix, there is no geography which is established in the beginning. And like, I'm watching with my wife, and then I was confused where this place is. So my wife is telling me it's clearly shown it's UP. So how did you know it? Like, the number plate, see the number plate. So that's the kind of reference what people are picking
People,
up right now.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I don't want to, throw more light into those people, so that I've said enough.
right.
That's enough. That's
That's
enough.
enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I the reason I asked was also because the Meel Pathar, Milestone, it's a
Yeah. Yeah.
brilliant film,
Yeah.
but it's also a kind of a festival film. There's a
Correct.
so that's why that was interesting
Yeah.
for me
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
this was a big screen film and you were picking up these techniques, which is like a really nice, like, you're saying, okay, yeah, you get it. Otherwise, at least you get the sense of it, overall happening. There's this lovely thing you mentioned, the religion aspect of it. Almost every character in this movie is super religious. It's like from the very first, did you ever think of maybe having one character who was maybe not inclined towards either religion, who is a bit of an atheist, or maybe like somewhere in the middle? Just as a curiosity, because right now, of course, the religion is the reason the communism happens, and the police are able to exploit that factor and all that kind of stuff. So, did you ever like think of having a character who was probably a little neutral, or just an atheist?
If you take the timeline of the film, there is a clear transition. Like, the new age characters. If you look at Freddy, those guys are not religious. That's a new like. If you like, there's a small character who dies in between, like played by Sharath. So he's what is he saying? That, like, we can't survive in this land. I need to go to Malaysia.
He wants to go to Malaysia or something.
Malaysia. I need to get my passport back. That's the only worry he has. Those guys are not religious. They don't believe in all these things. They believe that this is stupidity. They're just rooted to these things. So they understood what is happening right now.
Right.
So it's evidently there in the film, I think.
Right. Actually, that's there. I missed the. I mean, I forgot about the Freddy and his two friends. That kind of thing. Now, tell me another thing. Again, when you establish David first, it is through that shot where we enter Freddy's house. That is David's house, and Freddy's getting ready to throw that bomb, and his friends are taking him away, right? And David is the other most important character in the movie, and we move past him like he's some piece of furniture. It's like we kind of just like, oh, okay. So I'm just thinking, oh, this is Freddy's dad, but actually, like, oh my god, it's such a major character. When the second time you watch it, one of David's most important scenes for me was when they named the school. After they decide, okay, they say that it's everybody can study here, but then they decide what should we name the school. They say that since your dad has been buried here, and since you've taken all this effort, that is to Alika, they say we'll name it after your dad. Then you kind of like the camera turns to David, and you see him smiling. But at the same time, it's a very uncomfortable smile. Like he's not very happy with the situation. Tell me his mind space. What is his mind? Because that's the first time you sense any bit of friction in the film. That's the first instance.
You picked up right, actually. That's the first point. That's the first point when you're realizing that slowly this is becoming into his own world.
Right.
This place is becoming, because the moment Abu Bakr became a politician, like, he's becoming a counselor. I'm not addressing anything in the film. He's becoming a counselor first, and then into an MLA, and then so he's a counselor at that stage. So at that stage, if you look at it, everything is slowly transformed. So the garbage area is slowly is getting transformed into a school. So that school is going to be named after a mosque, like, people from that like, take say Muslim religion. But also we can see all the community members there, but they're all not uncomfortable with that. But he has got that kind of a spirit within him. Like, so that's a trigger point. So if you look at it, after that particular scene is where, Rosalind is getting engaged. So, and then the next scene is where, Suleiman is proposing. So, so at that moment, proposing to David, actually telling about Rosalind to David. So at that moment, the entire thing is lightened up, because then again it is slowly diving into his own, where now we are friends. Now we are becoming like, now I'm your relative. Like, we are becoming close relatives now.
Brother-in-law.
I'm happy for you, brother-in-law. Yeah, I'm happy for you. Certain shots really determines the character arc. If that emotion was not expressed there, Then slowly, when if you look at Jojo's character slowly turning against, like, making him convinced that, what happened to him, like, what did you get, from this entire scenario? You didn't achieve much. All has been given to their people, and there, so he's telling him, don't speak communalism here, don't speak about community here, we are all one. But still he's recollecting in his mind that whatever is happening to me is, this is all from a lower middle class perspective, where, where everybody can look into those aspects. This is happening on
Yeah,
daily basis, every day it's happening. So
yeah.
I think you picked up the right shot, actually. That's the right point. Yeah.
Your film is filled with, so this is not a Fahad Fasil show, this is like a Vinay Fort show, it's a Nimisha Sarjan show, it's like Dilish Potan is fantastic, Salim as Musaka is just amazing in that bit. How do you direct actors, Mahesh? I want you to let me give you one scene which would make it a little easier. The scene where the refugee bus comes and they're not allowed into the mosque, and then Fahad, that is Alika, goes in and says Musaka will not. The Jamaat may say so, but Alika, Musaka is probably not. He's just goes inside.
Yeah.
And he sees Salim lying down. Salim Kumar inside lying down, and then they have that conversation.
Yeah.
So it's such a delicate and beautifully handled conversation, because one man is filled with fury, and the other man is like, you know what, I try to live this good Muslim life, but I can see it slowly slipping away from my hands. It's like it's kind of radicals of kind of economatic.
Yeah.
How do you direct those two actors in that scene? What was it like? It was you have your screenplay. What did you tell them?
Probably they knew the settings very well, and they understood it. They picked it very well. Actually, Fahad and Salim Guy is a very senior guy, so he understands those nuances very well. He's a writer himself, and he's a director also. So he understands that state of mind. He doesn't have much screen space in the film, if you look at it. But still, when he's coming back to portray this particular scene, he will ask me what is the mindset within myself. So I will tell him that, okay, this is the action which you would have taken if you had this willingness, or the at least some kind of an energy to go out and speak. That's not possible for you right now, and some other people are actually engaged in this matter. So you let the faith towards Suleiman, so that let him speak, and he is not also getting any answer from him. So what is he saying? That, like, I'm going to take the decision. What you're going to take, I know what your decision is. He never asked you for his decision or not. I'm going to speak for you. That's what he's saying, and then going out. So in that, there is if you look at it, then there is a steady cam kind of a shot where father is charging up towards that people, and then he's that's the moment when he's saying that I'm also an immigrant. I came to this place like that. So you can't. Otherwise, you can throw me out also. You can also throw me out. But that's not happening here. It's you're becoming too religious. It's not that. So this place was not like that. So I still believe in that person's ideology who's lying down there with chronic illness. So believe in that person. So in that manner, they understood it well. There was a tricky thing when that gunfire happened, and I know controversies will happen, but but luckily the censor board didn't do anything. I don't know. So I don't know, after the release and all, I don't know, like, what is going to happen.
So you're saying that you basically just explain the situation thoroughly and then let the actors do their thing. Was there any point where you say, let's try this or let's try that, so that you were not getting the thing that you wanted, and you wanted a little variation on something?
That always happened, because Vinay started acting in the jail first, because we were shooting in reverse. So his first sequence was he didn't have any dialogue in that day, but he just have to look at his son, and then who's inside the cell, and there is a small track in, so that he's going to narrate a story. That's the only thing. He took a lot of time to get into this zone, because we were all set, because we and also there is a biggest disadvantage when we deal with actors for playing such a kind of timeline. Why? Because I could only shoot it in reverse order. The set was made for 2018. Then it has to be broken into small pieces, and then we have to achieve all the periods later. At one stage, there was like take number 20, 23, 25, like going on. And then I because I'm close to Vinay, I know him well, but he's feeling some kind of a discomfort. And then he didn't tell me that day, but his friends means like father and all, they told me that, okay, do you know one thing? Vinay actually called his wife and told her that, okay, he was supposed to book a car, new car. Told her that, okay, let's cancel it now. I don't know whether I'm a good enough, like a good actor now, because at any point of my career, I could actually come out of this film. So I was scared of it. So then Fahad told him that, okay, this is man's regular process. He's a torture in that. Like, he keeps on insisting the number of takes for me is slightly on a larger rate. It's not about coverage. No, I don't believe in that multiple coverage and all. Like, I believe for specific shots.
Right.
So, but to attain those specific shots, I have to, I have to get that right. So till that moment, I'm not happy. But within 3 days, he quickly got into that zone. And he understood that. So all these actors, when they are with me for a long time, so say this film was shot within a period of 92 days, but we finished it within a span of 8 months. So because of the set variations, and if you look at Dinesh has to gain a lot of weight. Dinesh is the only person who gained a lot of weight and then lost a lot of weight. So it took time for them. So that in that manner, even rainy season, so set could not be fixed. Art department will get, they have their own problems. So I have this film is very difficult in terms of execution. So in that manner, when after one point, after the mid stage and all, it's that point when Jojo joined. So Jojo is he's a disruptor in that manner. He keeps on cracking jokes and he keeps on telling. So I used to go and tell Jojo that, Jojo, please don't. There is a proper decorum which we've been maintaining continuously. Please don't disrupt it. So Jojo is on his own line, and Jojo, but it is good actually, because he's fantastic in his part. His subtlety is always as interesting as how Fawad plays.
Right.
So in that manner, everybody understood this the nature of the film well. Take for an example, Jaleja ma'am. Jaleja ma'am is a senior actor. She used to work with KG George and all for a long time, and she's coming back after a long time. So she had a lot of apprehensions in doing this role. So I told her that I went to her house, and then I narrated the script, and then I gave her the draft, and then I read it completely. And then finally, when I was leaving from the house, she didn't commit the film. So she said, "Okay, I will think about it, and I will let you know." So when I was leaving the house, I gave the draft to her. So she said, "Oh no, you take the draft, no problem. I understood the story. No, no, this is your copy, ma'am. You keep it. This is my copy." She was wondering. So I said, "Yeah, this is your copy. This is the first time in my entire career a director is giving me a script." So I was shocked, so much shocked. So she's a well-read actress, and she holds a masters and all. But still, I was wondering, so how did you work with all these legends? And also, no, we only came to the location, and some of the assistant directors will tell us the sequence scene. This is the scene today, and the director will brief them. And I don't know the previous scene. I don't know the next scene. I'm unaware about it, but I'm doing the role. Then I realized, so how, how people were treating, how actors were treated. But I'm not against those kind of situations, because they were all legendary directors and writers.
And you find people doing that even today and giving good performances, even with that process. Yeah.
So I was so happy that when she came back to the location, she told to some of my friends that this is the location where I learned a lot about camera. I learned a lot about lighting, technique, and all. So then, because Sanu constantly tells her, like, "Ma'am, this is the place. Now you have to come to this. You have to cross this axis, and also you have to travel like this." So she was, so first day she was all this new technology, new digital camera, new kind of dolly, panther, and also she was worried. Okay, what is it? Gimbal? She has not seen those kind of equipment. Then from the second day onwards, we both, me and Sanu, saw a moment. It is that moment where where the production boy gave her a glass of chai, and she was drinking the tea, and all of a sudden the take I announced the take. So then all of a sudden the boy couldn't reach there and take the glass from her. So she quickly noticed, where is the camera? Okay, now here is the camera. So she quickly hide the bottle under the table, then we understood she used to act with Ivy Shashi. You should understand that. She's back on track, because those days there is no monitor and all. So Shashi sir used to randomly shoot. He has finished Enad and all in what, 22 or 23 days. I'm still wondering how he made those films.
Yeah. Now, you spoke about Sanu, who's obviously done a fantastic job, and that's such a cliched way of saying what he's done in this movie. But tell me about your decision, you and Sanu together, when you decided to treat this film to me at least, it came across like there was a docu kind of feel to it. There's a docu kind of feel. It's not a thing, because even when I look at the DI, the colors seem not very ripe and saturated. They seem very natural, like a little
low
faded,
contrast.
like from that time. So they seem a little like real. Not real in the real sense, but like maybe a photograph from the time might have looked something like that, with a bit of fading and all that. Tell me about how you decided to approach the film visually.
This is always there in my film. If you take Takeoff also, and in this film also, like I always believe, what is close to reality, like how we can achieve this. Like, see, there is no slow motion shots kept in the film for the sake of slow motion. So there is nothing, like, only in the song sequences we had used 36 frames. None of the other sequences, even the big heroic sequences, we have never used slow motion. I'm totally against that kind of an idea. I don't know, like, sometime, in the next film, sometimes I will try if there's a silent style. So from the initial time itself, we had an intention that we have to approach it in a realistic manner, but geography has to be very much important, because this is the first time we are exploring so much geography. So there is, like, the set has been created in a land which is a fictional land, and this is almost like 6 acres of place where we built all the streets, all the houses, and all the mosque materials, and so none of them are properly finished. None of it is properly finished, and some of them are, like, has to be built, extended in VFX and all. So every shot, every scene will be finished only after the VFX. So Sanu and me has got this kind of a rapport where we understand this VFX angle much easier. So we don't need a particular supervisor on the location at all. So we could crack it. We just keep a reference there, so that this is the minar. Okay, this is there, which is going there. So where is the light falling? Okay, this is coming from this side. Okay, so now we have to focus on this angle. So like that, we constantly work. There is a constructive decision which we always make within the first 3 days of the film, where where we understand clearly that what kind of lenses which we want. Within 3 days, we understand that, okay, these are the lenses for this particular film. None of the other lenses will work for the film. So we come on the same page very easily. And after a point, we don't discuss much about the filmmaking process. We discuss about the detailing, like, this art department plywood is showing up, okay, because of the rain. Now we have to patch it up, like, so those kind of things, like, not into the filmmaking process, how the shot and all that is clarity. Vision is always there. So that is the kind of energy we share each other. It is more like, it is no more like, it is the kind of sensibility what we what we want to achieve. So, like, it is different when Sanu approaches a different film, like, Wazir, or
Right.
his film, or some other, like Android, or different films, like his approach is different. So from my film, his approach is entirely different. He comes with a different viewpoint.
Yeah, and you wanted this kind of a semi-documentary kind of.
Yeah, that is always there, because people should relate to whatever is happening around. So I'm not a person who want to give any kind of a preaching idea and all, but I just want to give some light on saying that, okay, just see what is happening around in your locality. So just see it, and then you take a look on it, and if you want to comment, you comment on it. Otherwise, you take it as a human drama and get back home. That's fine. I'm fine enough with that. But at least you have a look at it. So to have a look at that, you need to have a realistic agenda. Somewhere close to the setting. If you look at the colors and all which we have used, the dress of saris and all are very those kind of proper things which they used to wear on these coastal areas.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's nothing bright, like a red, yellow or something like that. Yeah. How many scenes was Takeoff, the screenplay?
Screenplay was around 67 or something. I can count you the page. 141 pages.
Yeah. Okay. So 60 is a good rough rule of thumb, right? For a screenplay, so 60 to 65. So 67.
Yeah.
See You Soon.
See You Soon was like around 48 or 50. Yeah, close to that.
So I'm coming to this question. How many scenes did this have?
This had almost like 89, actually. 89.
Okay. 89. Okay. The reason I ask is there are a lot of scenelets, like littler scenes within the scenes. For example, when after the mother slaps the daughter when she's boiling milk inside, you could have ended it there, but you have her come all the way outside and tell Fahad, Amma slapped me. There's like she needs to kind of convey that information. I mean, you could have kind of like that,
No, but there is another information which is happening. While she's coming out, we are seeing people eating there.
yeah,
Then when she's crossing, then all of a sudden there is a police there, so that we understood that Dinesh is already inside. Abu
inside,
Bakr's
yeah,
character is already inside, and they're
right,
having a meeting.
yeah,
And the driver character, who actually she slapped him, he's there sitting, he's standing
he's
there,
that, yeah, yeah,
and he's standing there, and he's telling that the police doesn't know that this girl is Alika's daughter,
right,
Suleiman's daughter. So they are not letting her in. So
right,
then that driver, so he's basically telling her that, telling the police person that, are you sorry, this is Alika's daughter. Oh, okay, no problem. You go in. So then she's going in. While going in, also she's showing glimpses of Alika.
right,
See, Abu Bakr is asking her. He clearly switches the topic. We are
right,
not hearing any kind of topic what they're discussing, but we show it. But I show it in the later stage.
right,
So at the moment when she goes into that place, Abu Bakr is asking, I didn't see you. Where were you? Like that. So he's asking that. So then, do you feel that your father is going to Hajj? Don't you have a problem? Then she's countering him that in that way. That is Suleiman's analogy. You have also gone to Hajj now. So at that point, did your kids suffer anything? No.
yeah,
Like she's asking that. She's spontaneous in that manner.
right, right,
And then we slowly reveal. I'm giving more spoilers, but then we slowly reveal that dusk. He's opening the drawer, like, and then we see that insulin bottle there. There is a gun also kept there.
right,
We can see it slightly. If you look back, we can see that. And then she's basically giving the medicine to it. And then again, Abu Bakr is asking. So when for the next 11 days, that's a pilgrimage period. Who's going to take care of all these things? Okay, I have set it up all right. Don't worry about it. That's what he's saying. So she's coming in with an intention to give him the medicine, but her thought process is to tell him that Mama slapped me.
yeah,
And there also, if you see that, she's telling not Amma. Amma ene adichu. So
yeah,
that
yeah,
means, like, so she's calling Uppa and Amma, like
yeah,
mother Ma. So it is that kind of a variation what she's having. So
right,
that she's also not getting into that kind of zone. She's not that religious and all.
right,
So that question which you asked beginning,
earlier, yeah,
that is very much clearly understood here. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah. No, for me, what was fascinating in that scene was when you were writing that big scene, this is almost like a cut. You're even though you're this is almost like a scene within a scene. So that's what was so fascinating about it. So when you were writing this, see, when writers often write a movie, right? They say that sorry, when writer directors,
right.
they often say, like, I have to kind of forget the director in me, because otherwise I keep thinking, oh, I should begin with a long shot. Oh, I should, that all the technicality kind of comes in, and this, so they're like, no, I should remove all that from my mind, and I should only think about character and plot and narrative and all that kind of stuff. When an editor writes, of course you're a director as well, but primarily, your editing repertoire is like huger, right? So when an editor writes, what are some of the, I don't know if should I use the word dangers or not, but what are some of the things that they should look out for?
I always consider, like, what is the kind of information what you want to share with the audience. If there is no information, then you should leave the shot. So because when she's coming out of that, since you mentioned about that particular shot, when she's leaving the house, even Rosalind is saying a line, just because of you, I've reached. So that means that there has been a fight between Alika and Rosalind, which has happened in the past, and just because of the sake of the daughter, she's come to this house.
And we see the fight later. Yeah, I don't want my daughter to be in these bloodstained hands.
We see the fight later. So those kind of information is always there. So I don't want to miss out in those information. So in that manner, like, I always consider when I edit, there is a pattern when I follow. So when I do the rough cut in the first days, so let it be some other filmmaker's film. Okay, so then I will ask my assistants to mark. I will mark certain scenes so that and then I will ask them to remove those scenes, and then let's watch it again. So when we remove those scenes and then we're watching it again, then also the film has no problem. It's communicating. Then we remove certain other scenes. Then also it's a problem. Then not a problem. Then also sometimes we remove half an hour of the material, and then we are seeing it. Then also there is no problem. That means that the screenplay has a problem. It's not about the timeline. It's not about the editing process. It's about because there is no information much to reveal. So those kind of small information adds a lot for such films in building up character arcs. Otherwise, there is no proper characterization. There is no, since you asked about this particular scene, I've clearly understood that just because I'm trying this as a single shot, I don't want to go in that regular gimmick manner where, where I'm following an action sequence and I'm doing action, or I'm following a particular person and going here and there. But I need to pinpoint every action in the film has to be established.
Right.
So even for repeated viewing, people will catch on to certain things, because this gun thing, my sound designer recognized it in much later stage. He has been constantly doing it, and then at a much later stage, when he's watching on a bigger screen, he was like, oh, there is a gun inside that. I didn't recognize that. Now I'm seeing that. Okay, fair enough. Okay, now I understood that. Okay, normal people will also not see it. I'm fine, but in repeated viewing, that's why Fahad used to tell me that, okay, this film, I mean, I don't know about the fate of the film, but people will watch it repeatedly because they want to find what is the problem in it, or what they want to explore it more.
Right.
So thankfully for digital screening, that's a good thing. So I always feel that after See You Soon, I understood that there is a repeated viewing which is constantly happening. Just to figure out mistakes. What are the mistakes you've done? They will just circle out and show it to you. Like, this is what happened. This is what happened. So like that, yeah.
So are you saying that because of this editing training, you are able to write screenplays without flab? Is that what you're?
There are flaws.
Flab.
Yeah. Understood. So maybe it can be like that. I've told you much before also in our previous interview. Here also I admit it, because this was not happening in a chronology, and I had to focus more on the performance depend a lot on the performance. So most of the actors don't have a choice. They just simply have to trust me. Right. Because they don't know the graph of the film. So sometimes they will feel that at this age, how would I have reacted to this particular person. So I will tell him that this would have been the way. So you try this in your mind and then perform this particular scene. So they were literally, sometimes they will get confused. So then after a point, then there are times when we think that, okay, let's stop this and let's take this scene and then come back, something like that. Those things that happen, because I don't want to pressurize people into that zone where they get frustrated, and because I don't know that role. I haven't played that age, and I'm playing this age. Right. So they will get try. It's about trying and doing, like R&D kind of thing.
One more question about editing, Mahesh. There is, I think, one of the most fascinatingly edited passages in the film is when Alika's mother comes into the prison, and then there's a constant back and forth cut between Nimisha and Fahad in their cell, and Alika's mother and Freddie at this point, right? But at that point, now we're doing a deep focus. It's full of spoilers, so we can say all this. So Nimisha says, "Okay, your mother is visiting." Fahad is like, "Oh, okay." So it's like, but then you reveal that she's actually not coming to see him. She's actually coming to see Freddie, right? And then she starts her big narration, which is kind of a thing. A very fascinating thing happens after that in terms of how you cut. You have 4 quick cuts, basically. She says he should die, and then you keep getting here, but then you reveal the twist that the mother is saying he should die righteously. Like he should die in a way that he can show his penance or whatever it is. I forget the exact word.
Yeah, correct.
And then Fahad says, that guy will not be able to kill me anyway. Right. Now, this whole thing is sensationally edited, but tell me one thing. What makes you say, I want to break that scene into that little exchange into 4 bits rather than show the mother? Is it just having a bit of suspense?
It's written like that. Okay. It's not edited like that. It was written. It was written like that because, probably my editing thing, like, how I'm going to edit the sequence would have been lying in my mind for a long time, and then I've written it like that. My scenes, like, it's there is no it's not an editor's craft, it's the writer's craft.
It's a writer's thing.
Okay. Craft. Yeah, it's written like that.
Okay, so because then that means that it would be interesting to read your screenplays, because there would be something like slightly different from a regular like a screenplay, because you're kind of using certain things that you've learned through your editing over the years.
Always. I always take a scene as a whole, and then I analyze it, I dissect it, and I see that where is this, there will be a beginning point of the scene. So without this beginning point, whether can I, if I can start from the midpoint, I always analyze that. Okay, then if I'm starting from this midpoint, then this information is lost. Okay, so how to shorten this information? So there is this is also a disadvantage within me, because I don't give much breathing space. This always happened when after watching Takeoff. Even Fahad constantly was telling me, man, there is no breathing space. You are giving it so much back to back. You're tied up so much to your editing that you're not giving any space, relief points to the audience. So you have to give such a sort of relief point. So here I tried a little bit of relief points, and then one fine morning, Fahad used to say that, you are adding relief points also, but that also is having too much information, man. then you can't tell this as relief points. Okay, then said, okay, man, leave it. This is the way I know. I don't know anything else than that. So it is the way I write.
Right.
That's so.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and that's amazing, because like you say, every little point in a movie has some kind of information.
Yeah.
Now, let me talk about how you reveal information, right? Now, this is a visual thing. I'm going to talk about one object and one character.
Yeah.
Now, the first time you reveal the garbage dump is when the bus crosses the scene, and it's after. So we see the red bus cross the thing, and then you see the big garbage dump kind of a thing. That reveal is something I wanted to just say. How did that come about? Did you write it like that, or did it come about on location, or how did it happen? And the second reveal is Joju's reveal.
Yeah.
The first time we see Joju is he's doing namaz in the mosque, right? So it is very clear that you're introducing an important character, because all the other characters are out of focus. Okay, it's like only his face is in focus. Everybody, including Fahad, everybody else is out of focus. Only Joju's face is very clear. So your mind just immediately registers that, oh my God, this is like a guy who's going to play a major, because like it's not like, unlike your other scenes, you're not taking us through 100 things and then saying this is we have to pick out. We are being focused to his face. So tell me about those two decisions.
So I'll come to the second one first. So the Jojo's thing is that's a classical way. That's a classical way. Why? Because it's always tried and done.
Yeah.
After a song, there should be a conflict, which is good, where the new chapter which is going to start. So this ends with a song. If you look at it, that's a Clan Growth song. It ends with that moment when Dinesh has been recognized as a counselor and he's got a party office and all. They take him inside, and then we cut to the namaz scene. So then we need a conflict. So what's the next conflict? So that's the next chapter. So that person is coming in. So then my inclination is definitely towards Jojo, because I have to establish it. That's a classical way. So I always believe in that classical way, and this is my method. So
despite your opening scene.
Yeah, correct. It's a classical way. So the other thing is, I forgot about it. What was that?
The garbage reveal.
Yeah, the garbage reveal was actually not written like that. I just wanted that garbage to be shown in that manner. When we compose the scenes, we go with Nimisha catching the bus. There's a conversation, a small bit of conversation happening between Nimisha and Suleiman's sister. And then we slowly reveal that garbage area. So that's the first time we are revealing it. And if you look at the film, during the 1965 time period also, there is a garbage area. We are seeing that garbage area when that Bulakad is coming in with the kids and all, with the young Suleiman's mother and all. They are coming in. So there also we can see the garbage area, not in this kind of manner. But now we have seen that it's piled up. It's now become huge.
It's a very clear. It's almost like a reveal.
Reveal, yeah. That was a clear decision made in the shoot.
So at any point, Mahesh, did you feel that I have, let's say, 20 major characters? Can I say the same story with 10 characters and deepen their scenes, so that instead of having one great scene or two great scenes for every character, I can have 5 great scenes for them and deepen them or root them better in the audience's mind? Because the screenplay can be written in any way, right? What made you say, I want this many characters, because they're all going to, because whether it's a mother, whether it's Freddy, whether it's the daughter, Joju's daughter, everybody gets that one or two major like things that instantly hooks us to them, as opposed to like 4 or 5 scenes that would maybe expose, like give them a little more dimension. So what made you say, this is how I want to go? In
the initial draft, in the thought process, actually, there were very. I don't think there are so many characters, but like there were characters. There were these many characters, but there was a different storyline angle to this because Suleiman was playing only the old age in the first draft.
Oh, okay.
In the first draft, very first draft, where where I bounced it the idea and all. So there was no flashbacks and all. There were flashbacks, but very minimal flashbacks. So there, I was more into Freddy and Freddy's character more. So I was playing with him. So Freddy and this Sherman, the Doctor Sherman, was played by Parvati. So she and Freddy were lovers
Okay.
in the first draft. So he was actually Freddy was a local guy, who's a juvenile criminal, who's going out, coming out of juvenile homes regularly. And one fine morning, we're realizing that he gets caught in an act, and then we realize that okay, now it's he has crossed this 18 years, and now unfortunately he can't go into the juvenile home, but he has to go into the regular prison. So that's one idea. And then Sherman was actually a hotel management graduate. She was working in a hotel near to this beachside hotels and all as a trainee. So they had a love story between them. I was revealing Suleiman at a later stage, very later stage, like after 40-45th minute and all. So something like that was written beginning. So then, like, this keeps on evolving now, right?
Right,
So
right.
then later, when certain incidents again came to my mind, so that I need to incorporate all these things, and a lot of people were sharing ideas with them. Like there are a lot of writer friends of mine who also share some light on these things. Like Uniyar is one of them, Shankar Ramakrishnan is one of them. So they all know me. So because I'm writing, some of them are from Trivandrum also. So they know these areas well. So they understood that, okay, are you telling such kind of things, you need to discuss about these things also. So then I realized, okay, people are expecting something more, so let's try it. So then I scrapped that draft. Like, I completely eliminated that draft and started again from scratch. So I'm happy to do that. I'm not very much inclined to what I write and then, oh, this is what I've written and I'm going to choose this, and nothing like that. So then I had time also. The initial idea was bounced to Fahad during 2011, the times of Netoli and Bangalore days and all. So then it came to then we had a lot of time. So when right after takeoff, I was into a different film. It didn't happen. But then Fahad know me so well that because I was going into so much depression because I'm not able to mount this film, and I'm behind all the actors, producers, and all. Nobody's trusting me. I don't know. There are multiple reasons. So finally, at one stage, I still remember during the shooting of Nyan Prakasham, I was there with Fahad for a day in his vanity. So I was sitting with him. So it's simply I was sitting with him, like and then he was telling me, like, scribe, don't get inclined to one project and get lost with your life and all. Just move on, and try to do something else. So then I said, what to do? I don't know what to do. So then why can't we discuss that film which you bounced it in the beginning days, and why can't you revamp it again? So I told him that I don't know. I don't have the conviction now. I don't know anything about it. Then he gave me the push. He gave me the push and said that, "Arey, what is the problem with the conviction and all? I still believe in that concept. I believe in it. You write it again." When I started reworking, so now I had a lot of other documents with me. So as you said earlier, since I have this documentary feel just because I go with all those materials which I collect. So I keep everything within beside me, and then I look into it. And now now I have a new Suleiman. Now I have a new David. Now I have a new Freddy. Then I start analyzing things. So now there was no mother in the beginning. So now I needed the mother. Now I needed from where Suleiman came in. Because I understood at that moment that why am I not getting the budget of making such a film? Just because I understood clearly it's my problem only. Just because my screenplay was not appealing to all.
Right.
It was just it was just like an indie screenplay told in a much higher budget. So that doesn't make sense. So that I understood. So then I wanted. So then I read a lot of Shakespeare. So then in that manner, like I understood that what is the success formula of that. So every emotions are there. Like there is love, there is betrayal, there is revenge, there is hatred. So I need to implement everything into this so that let's make it on that side. So that's the moment when I realized that this will be going on the sides of Nayagan. This will be going into that zone. And then it was at that moment when Kamal sir had come to Kerala, and we had a meeting in Food Cushion, and I spent 2 days with him. So it was just a regular meeting. He had some press meetings and all, but I was there with him. So that at that point, I said, "Sir, I'm trying to figure out how to make my own adaptation of Godfather of Nayak." He said, very good choice. It's a good story, good thing that you should try it." Then he asked me who's playing it. Then he said, I said, Fahad.
You
Good
said
choice.
this, yeah,
Go.
yeah.
Yeah, in the beginning. So eventually I found out that this is the only way to tell a story in such a scale, so that every person, my producer will also have a trust in me. My technicians will also have a trust in me. My actors will also have a trust, and also rooted characters. Sometimes, watching a lot of Western films will influence us in such a manner that we always intend to go towards that Western culture. We set in that culture.
Yeah, yeah.
So then I'm a huge fan of Costa Gavras. So you see, he said Missing and Music Box. All these films have been. So how he tells a political story, how he, at times he tells it very evidently, very open, hard hitting. So I wanted that manner also, and also that texture of Kapulu, how he tells the human drama. Then came all these characters. So then
Right.
I could write it within a minimum time, because I had all these things in my mind constantly, so that I could reshape it into any kind of form.
Right.
So once the draft was done, when I was narrating to Fahad, everybody was on the same page. Okay, this is right.
Right.
This is the correct method of approaching the film.
It's so difficult to make multiple characters register not just themselves, but something that is their core. For me, that moment for the Jalaja character, the mother came when she's telling Freddy that thing, that this is how my son should be punished. And that punishment relates, like a teacher is a punisher,
Yeah,
like she's a teacher.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
she
yeah,
should punish her
yeah.
students, and this is her son,
Son,
so
yeah.
it's like, so it just that one scene
Hmm.
just completely gives me a little nutshell of that character. And I think that's amazing how it happens for almost every character. The character where like Nimisha says she's going to take the daughter away because your hands are filled with blood, and like almost every character has I think probably only David and Alika have more moments because of the nature of the story, but almost every other character has for example, even the David's wife, when Nimisha comes to the hospital to see her father, her dead father, that bit where David's wife explodes, the words she speaks are so that they define that woman so specifically. That's what's so amazing about this screenplay. So again, congratulations that
thank you.
It's like it's just like so dense and wonderful the way you've written it. And that the form of the film is just so brilliant. So that's something that I really enjoyed. So
thank you very.
Now tell me about one scene, Mahesh, in when Ali Ikka is going to, he realizes Amir has been shot.
Yeah.
Right. So he is dodging bullets and he's going to there. What made you say, I need to have this little interlude where he's saving this girl in a van, which is kind of adding to the character that he is? Why do we need that? I mean, the motive of the scene is Ali Ikka should go to Amir. That is the straight line of the scene. You take this little detour. Just explain that to me as a screenwriter.
We have two versions of that. There is a David's perspective where David is witnessing that beginning portion of the gunfire. Only the beginning portion. He doesn't understand the gravity of it, because he's taken back in the police jeep, and then he's put in jail, and then for a day. So he's getting released only in the night. So he doesn't know what happened in that locality. So we're coming back to it again. So that is a revisiting scene. So while we are revisiting a particular situation, we need to establish it a little more. What is the gravity? Only thing is that Jojo is explaining when in the first version of David, when David is released from the jail, Jojo is explaining to the media that 16 people have died. I know that, but we don't know the exact count and all. But what happened actually, that we don't know. But we are still unaware of it. So I need to explain that to the audience. That is coming from Alika's perspective, because Alika is the witness there. Alika witnessed the entire event. So for a person to witness that event, we have to have a detour like that, to go through. Like whether he's hit or not, that is a secondary question. But basic idea is to rescue his son or get back his son. But while going also, he's seeing people dying before him. So, and there is also a moment when he's crossing an alley and then going into a house, and then he's seeing an old age man is coming out, and he's saying, move inside. And then we are seeing goats and all. So then he's traveling, he's going and going to the beach side and finding his son. Through that entire travel process, we are actually revealing the geography, how the geography was, and how it was today, like, it was at the current time. So that's the reason.
So there's geography, and also it's a question of memory, because
yeah.
What was the most challenging part of writing this movie? Like, you've explained how you started, and then with a love story, and then kind of a thing, but what was it collecting the research? What was the one thing that broke your back the most?
After all the flashbacks, for first flashback, and after Sulaiman's mother's version and David's version, then we cut to Sulaiman in the jail.
Okay.
So I knew clearly when I was writing that there is a dip, because as a cinematic experience, like, as a commercial cinema, I know that, because we are till that moment we are going through a roller coaster. We are seeing all those events, going, and then finally we are getting, because it's a free flow thing, and then all of a sudden we are into a stagnant pool. Like, right. I know that we are stuck. From that moment to to Freddy, then the next plot point is Freddy to reach Sulaiman's cell. That's the next moment. I took a lot of time, in discovering that moment. Like, when you're watching the film, you will never understand that this person took that much time in realizing. But I knew clearly, because I consider this as a theatrical thing now. So I know that at that moment people will feel a dip in their, in terms of emotion and all. To cover that, I've used certain tools, certain way of intrigue nature, kind of thing, like how Indran's, the character of Indran's, the cop is actually bringing Freddy to the. That's why the scene of, like, there is a scene of Abu Bakr and Sulaiman inside the cell. After that scene, he's a minister right now, and then he's going out of the prison, and then he's saying to the jail warden that jail superintendent, that I need to see that boy also. But why the minister is there? The minister can't actually go into a jail and visit his friend just like that, because he's a criminal. He's on trial. So he need a reason for that. So the reason what is calculated is because there is Onam celebration which is happening inside the cell. And so just because he needs to give away all these kits and all, so there is a function happening. So I deliberately made those events, and there was a reason for that also. Like, every time when you look at a minister going into visiting a cell, or a VVIP visiting a jail or any institution, they will keep a function also, like cut this ribbon or start this building or something like that. So here it is like that, and this is not his main event. His main event is to see Sulaiman and Freddy. Right. So he met Sulaiman, but he's not getting any kind of solution from there. Now he wants Freddy. Desperately, he wants Freddy to do this act. So that's why, in the midway of that action, he goes to the backstage and asks Freddy that, do you have fear in you? Like, do you still fear this person? Then I used Indran's as a tool, to give him this kind of information that, don't worry about it. We'll do it. I've prepared him, sir. I've prepared him. And there is a scene which has been eliminated also in the editing stage. That scene ends with this doctor looking at witnessing all these things from the top. So there was that finishing scene of Doctor and Freddy, the final dressing stages where he's getting out of that that casualty ward inside the cell, and he's taking back. So there was a scene written, and that was a scene which I've given for audition for Freddy and Parvati, like the girl who played Sharmin. So they are, but I apparently I couldn't make it in the final cut, because that scene was losing the momentum. So these are the areas where where I revisit it constantly. A lot of people have asked me, like, there will be certain favorite scenes. Scene will be favorite. Scene will be good, but certain times it will not fit to the entire narrative. It will not fit there, because that is, so we are revealing too much, or something is missing. People will understand, like, it is dragging there.
Right.
So I didn't want that. So those areas, actually, I revisited in scripting time and again back in the editing time. So I compare both this as parallel units, Barry. So that, while editing also, I'm constantly writing, right? Some kind of writing is also shaping up here.
Why was it important for you to show that Rishabh character changed his mind about Alika? I mean, the audiences already knows what he's. So from our side, we already are sympathetic towards him. Did you want to show somebody from the establishment also?
Yeah,
Kind
yeah.
of.
If you look at Rishabh's character arc, the moment when he sees, the jail superintendent and Indrins, both of them are actually telling the DGP, jail DGP, that this guy is perfect, because we know that this guy, they just want to end this, just simply have a solution to this, end to this, and they always fear that, oh no, we police people, we can't do that. And this DGP is saying that, all right, we have done doesn't of the a number of times earlier. Well, what is the problem with this? No, no, not with Aliga. We can't do that. So now they have figured out that a person, the plan A was a failure. The moment he couldn't enter the prison, so this is plan B. So the plan B has to work only because Freddy is a juvenile criminal. He has done all these deeds. This Rishabh's character, he has an apprehension there. He has an apprehension saying that, all right, this guy is a juvenile. I don't agree him doing this act. So, and we then again show him his some scenes end with him, at one stage, when this guy is being interrogated, by the superintendent and Indians inside the cell. He's crying in pain because he's got all those explosions into his skin and all, and he's injured, and severely injured. And then these guys are actually adding more into this pain. And then Rishabh is actually worried, smoking a cigarette there outside. And then all of a sudden, this girl goes in. The doctor goes in and says that, okay, now he's my patient. This is my room. You kindly get out of it. Then we'll do that. So the idea behind Rishabh's transformation is evident from the beginning stages. For example, there is a scene where, this is probably the day 4 or day 5 of Suleiman's jail. Day 3rd of Suleiman inside the jail. We are seeing people outside. That's a time when Nimisha is also outside, inside the jail. The Suleiman's car is there, and we see a lot of people, from that community. They are there. They have reached there, and it's just basically solidarity, saying solidarity. So he's witnessing those things. That's why. So that transformation is very easy for him, and it's also shown well in the film. I think it's not that for the convenience of a person getting transformed, or just for the
No. I was just I was just getting at the reason for that. That not
Yeah,
it wasn't looking odd at all.
also from the side of the system, as you mentioned, from the side of the system, one person should actually relate to him, right? And also another thing is that he's the person who's been hearing all the narrations. He heard the narration of Jamila, mean, Suleiman's mother, through the phone. So he heard that.
Yeah.
So there is a reason for it.
Yeah. Actually, another scene that I love, I'm going to let you go very soon, but another scene that I love is when Rishabh is actually talking about this juvenile character. This lady officer says, what if he goes out and rapes, and what if he goes out and stuff like that, right? Just before that, you have this lady officer sitting in the corner. There are about 3 or 4 officers sitting, and the camera pans, and you kind of see person 1, person 2, person 3, person 4. And the last person is the lady officer. And I'm like, okay, why did he end with her? Because it's like, she's thing. And then the very next scene, she's kind of because she doesn't say anything.
Because chief secretary says now it's jail age, now it's her problem.
It's her. So you end with her. She doesn't say anything. But then the next scene,
that's how system functions now. Because everybody puts it on them. For example, COVID. It's like the superiors say that now it's your headache. Now it's your headache, that.
What is Mahesh Narayan's writing process? Do you have a whiteboard and you draw circles? Do you follow step outlines? What do you do?
I always keep a notebook. Which is actually the first draft. I write it in the notebook. So
right.
Write with pen and paper. And right. I write it in a notebook. So it will have, and I keep two parallel notebooks. So one book will have the character's study, like what is the arc, and I always keep that log line, somewhere written there, and so I keeps on looking at the log line again. So here the log line is basically a juvenile criminal. It's about the juvenile criminal going into the cell, knowing more about Alika, Suleiman, and whether he's in a dilemma whether he has to do this act or not, whether he kills him or not. That's the log line. So The entire screenplay has to fulfill this log line. So I always keep remember this line in my mind, and then within this one notebook will be the character study, research, and everything, which will be which can be one book or three or multiple books.
Right.
And then will be one book which will end up with 90 or 60 to 70 or 90 pages kind of a thing, which will be a rough kind of a screenplay, which has some dialogues also, which comes first. And then when I start with the final draft, I mean the software, final draft means not the exact draft, but writing it in the software. Then I constantly think about, okay, why I made this, why I had this. Then that's a detailed analysis, right?
Right.
So then that is going into the system. So then every day, like, take for example Malik. It's been like, I have the draft from 2011 to till 2018 or 19. Yeah, 19, like, till the moment of shoot, or even while shooting also, we are changing slight bits and pieces and all, we are changing. So there is a scene I still remember, I because I took examples of a lot of films in the way, like, when Alika is gone, the film is no more. Film ended there. But I had some more to say.
Right.
I had some more to add to the story. So, uh, Freddy coming into the scene, Freddy coming out of the jail, because that's the 14th day trial is over for him also, and he's coming out. Vinay is speaking up because Vinay is happy. David is happy now because David feels that his child has done whatever he's feeling now, and he's taking him there. And then Abu Bakr is giving a speech. It is actually a memorial speech for Alika that doing. So then at that moment when he stops the scooter, and then he goes into it. So
that scooter has training wheels, by the way. I was like,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, it is there because this guy is injured.
Yeah,
This guy is David
he
has
can't
got a bullet
drive
in him.
yeah,
He's got a bullet in
that's a
him.
great detail, that's like
just because it is a scooter which is given by the government, by the system, as an aid. So he's like when Freddy goes inside, like, in the initial draft it was just Freddy going in, not arguing with his father and all. So it was actually during the last stages of this draft, or during the shooting days, me and Fahad, when we were constantly discussing, Fahad felt something missing with Freddy and David. So I asked him, what is the problem? What is the reason? Like, I'm not feeling the culmination happening, man. I'm not feeling the culmination with them. So we couldn't figure out how the culmination should happen. We couldn't figure out. Then I understood the point is here. The moment is here. So then we added that line again, like, who can kill Alika from this territory? Do you believe that who can kill him? Do you still believe that I killed him? Like, so that's a shocking question to Alika. And there is one important question. Did you do that? So he has no answers for that because he has been he's a part of that. So
he's instrumental, but not
he's instrumental. Yeah, correct. And then he leaves. And then also there is a shot where he's leaving, looking at him, and then he's leaving. And a lot of my ADs also had apprehension with that shot because they were telling me that as soon as Freddy leaves the that place, you have to cut inside. Don't stick on to David. I said no. David has to have a culmination. Otherwise, otherwise we are not saying any point here. That has to be there.
Yeah.
So then, so like that, this keeps on evolving. This keeps on changing everything.
Right. For me, Malik was also about the Malik of everybody, which is God, because there's so much of God in this movie. Did you consider anybody else when you were writing your various drafts? Did you consider another end for another killer for Fahad, for Alika, or was it always this person?
Yeah, always this person.
It was always this person.
It was always this person.
Okay. So and the very last scene where you decide to kind of Freddy throws the stone, it hits this one, and then so it's basically he's kind of he's saying that I'm no longer buying your bullshit.
Yeah.
And then but the politicians, they're kind of lifting him. He's being it's almost like a wave. He's being passed around like that.
Yeah.
And then you cut to Nimisha.
Yeah.
What made you say that's the?
Because Nimisha
before the Joju
Nimisha realized that he is not the killer. Freddy is not the killer. She understood. He didn't do it. So that's
Right.
a moment of realization. That's
Yes,
a
for
moment
her.
of happiness for her family, right?
Right.
Her roots are more stronger.
Because otherwise it's her brother's son who
Yeah,
kind of
she will live in that guilt.
Yeah.
Now she understood that that smile was important for me.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much for this time, Mahesh, and thank you for this gigantic film, because it really it's a huge film, very ambitious film, and ambitious films always are interesting, but they're very difficult to pull off. I think you pulled it off magnificently. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.